am I doing here? Hello. Just waiting for everyone to turn up. I haven't got a lot of time, so I'm going to set the timer. Okay. While we're waiting for people to turn up, it's a weird time for me to be on, so we'll see how many people turn up. It's good. The fewer people, the more questions I can get to, so that's good. So anyway, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? Sorry. Okay. I'm on YouTube at the same time. Whenever I do a live, I'm on YouTube the whole time, and then I bounce from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. So it is a really weird time for me to be on, but I've got some time right now, so I thought I'd come on. Okay. Just waiting for everyone to turn up before we get into it. Hi, Vanessa, Texas. Okay, I've had a lot of clients in Texas. I want to get down there one day. I want to see Austin. We're kind of torn whether or not we go there because there's a lot of vegans there. I'm vegan, so there'd probably be a lot of options, but then there's a lot of barbecue there too. So I don't know if it'd be great food for a vegan. I'm not sure, but I still want to go there. Nebraska, Oregon. Frugal Mama Wolf, Nebraska. Seen your name many times. And Chrissydon, Oregon. That's quite close to me. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. Liverpool, New York. Really? There's in Liverpool, New York. Did not know that. I've kind of got the flu tonight. I get mall flu if I go shopping, and I went to a huge mall today, and I don't know why. I just thought maybe I'd see something interesting there. I always get mall flu. I just feel ill when I'm in a mall because I hate shopping so much. So I'm recovering now. So I thought I'd come on here to relax because this relaxes me. Abby from Minnesota. Welcome, Abby. And Amia from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've heard of that. Okay, we got enough people. Let's get going with your questions. First, I'll introduce myself. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. My website is BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board on there when you sign up for the newsletter. It also has a toddler section on there. It's a mini course and it's completely free. It's the training wheels with all this stuff. Or you can buy one of my courses. I have 2 boot camp courses, one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. I do have a big wait list right now, but I'll get to it eventually. And you can look into our podcast. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast, and it's on all the platforms. And if you want to watch us, we actually put it on. We film ourselves, and then we put it on YouTube. So all the podcasts are on YouTube if you want to watch it. I don't know. Okay, so let's get to your questions. This is Chrissydon. Sorry. I'll just call you Chrissy. I have a daughter, 2.5, and she wakes up 2 to 5 times a night. I have created a bad habit of going in every time, but I am not a fan of cry it out. Any advice? Yeah, she's 2.5. I would assume, okay, if she's in a crib, there's a few different things you could do. But if she's not getting out of bed, if she gets out of bed, you just walk her back and you don't talk to her. You just calmly put her back every time, and she'll get the hint eventually. But if she can't get out of the room, so you can sit beside her in a chair in the dark where she can with a nightlight, she can see you, and you give her your arm through the crib, but you look like you're just falling asleep. You're nodding off. Okay. So don't talk to her. You don't want her to have any reason to get up, and watching you fall asleep in a chair is not a great reason to get up. So Abby Lee from Minnesota, welcome. Did I already say that? I think I did. Kyle J from Canmore, Alberta. Never heard of that. Chicago, hi Amanda. Long Island, New York. Patricia, welcome. Vancouver, oh, someone from Vancouver. I don't get a lot of Canadian clients. Most of my clients are American or, well, all over the world really, but I don't get a lot of Canadian clients. So I maybe get, I don't know, percentage might be 1%, maybe less. Okay, Ohio, hi Kristen. Okay, this is Frugal Mama Wolf on YouTube. 5, 3, and 1.5-year-old. 5-year-old screams to irritate her sisters. I ignore, but siblings cry. I've used the board saying no teasing, sisters. It hasn't worked. Any other ways to fix this? Yeah, if it's not working, there must be other stuff going on. And that's sort of like, you can't just always single out one thing to fix. If you're still yelling, if you're inconsistent, nothing's going to work. So yeah, you want to just sort of check in, see what else you're doing. And yeah, maybe you get really frustrated and yell, and that tanks everything. Okay. So Tabitha, I'm in the thick of it. Some days are so hard, like today, day 5 of being alone, partner away with 27-month-old and 8-month-old. Yeah, it's tough. I lived in Australia. I'm married in Australia and moved there, had no friends, family there initially with a baby. And my husband at the time, we're divorced now, but at the time he worked really long hours, traveled, and it was rough. But the mothering part wasn't rough. It was the fact I had nobody. And I was Canadian, and yeah, it was really weird. I'd never been so isolated in my life. So yeah, I kind of know what that's like. The parenting, I must admit, parenting I found kind of easy. That's why I teach it, right? If you never take advice from someone who's struggled with parenting, you don't want to be relatable to someone who's teaching you about parenting. I know that it's kind of comforting when someone says, hey, look, I've been there. I haven't. I did find parenting easy. That's why I teach it. You want to learn it from someone who found it easy. Does that make sense? It's not like that with everything. But with teaching or with parenting, I think it is. Yeah. If you say, oh, I want to learn from her. She's going through exactly what I'm going through. What are you going to learn? It's funny. And we're talking about that. I was talking about that with a client once, and she goes, she had hired someone else and who was very relatable, who was also struggling. And then she realized, what am I doing? I'm not learning anything. It's funny. Okay. This is Brittany Willie. I love watching your videos. Thanks for that. Helps me with my preteen and toddler. Thank you so much. Great. I'm glad we put a lot of free content out there. And our goal is, I'll be honest, our goal is to make a big difference in this world. Sounds lofty, but I think that the authority was in for a long time. Then we swung the pendulum the other way, the pleaser, trying to please kids and not giving them any confidence or pride in themselves because they were out of control. And now I think we've kind of gone in the middle. And that's where I think I am. I'm not a pleaser. I'm not an authority. I'm a leader. And leaders raise kids with high self-esteem who make good choices. I don't want obedient soldiers. I want kids who have a lot of confidence and they make their own choices, good or bad. And then if they make a bad one, I come in with a consequence, right? So yeah, I want to make a difference. I've been doing this for so long. How do we submit questions? Right here. And you can go on my website. You can submit questions for the podcast. Doesn't mean that we'll use them all. My daughter does all that stuff. I don't see any of that. She does all that. So yeah, if you go on the website, I think there's somewhere there. I don't know. I've never done that. I don't know how to do that. This is sweaty. Yeah, but I don't the only place I answer questions is here when I'm doing a live and in the podcast. It's the only 2 places. Yeah. But my daughter sees them all, and she picks she sees what comes in, and she sort of chooses things that are really common questions. So she tries to sort of amalgamate them. And if you have a question, you can literally Google BratBusters, pretty much anything parenting, BratBusters Tantrums, BratBusters Bedtime Battles. I got thousands of videos. So your answer might be in one of those videos. How to put an active toddler in the daycare to sleep, strict or sweet? How? Well, I don't know what you mean by that. If they don't want to nap at daycare, you can't force them. You can't force a kid to sleep. So I don't know what you mean by that. Windsor, Ontario. Hi, Lori. Yana, how to address a big no behavior and emotions when getting dressed in the morning, brushing teeth, and then going to preschool, 4.5-year-old girl. Oh, you can put on the behavior board, follow morning routine. And okay, well, there's 2 different ways of doing that. I use an incentive program with potty training and morning routines. I won't go into why I do it with morning routines, but I use incentive. It could be seen as a bit of a bribe, but basically it's if you're all ready, let's say they have to get up at 7 and you have to leave at 8. And I had a whole list of things my kids had to do. And I always told them, I said, look, if you're ready, like 15 minutes before we have to leave, you can have 10 minutes of TV, like a screen, right? So then I 5 minutes before we leave, the screen went off, and then off we go. So it's an incentive. They wanted to play a video game. They wanted to watch TV in the morning. But I just started getting them into that routine using that incentive. And then they got to the point they didn't always watch TV or play video games or whatever. So yeah, I do an incentive thing. The other way you can do it is you can put it on the behavior board. And if they don't follow the morning routine, then there's a consequence when they get home later. The problem is it's harder to get them to school that way. In the morning, they don't care about the consequence later on. So they don't usually get ready easily anyway. I prefer the incentive-based one. I won't go into it, but the reason there's only those two things I use the incentive with, potty training and morning routine. They're both kind of not bodily functions, the potty training is, but getting up in the morning, not everyone's a morning person. It's kind of hard for some kids to get up and get their motor running. So that's why I like to use incentive. So, and it works really well. I got a lot of clients using it, and they say it works. Okay. Vancouver, another Vancouverite. New Zealand, we used to ski. We lived in Australia. We used to ski in Queenstown, New Zealand. Gorgeous. I love New Zealand. Super friendly people. A lot of my friends when I first moved to Australia were Kiwis. That's if anyone doesn't know, that's a New Zealander, Kiwi. And yeah, got on really well with them. Florida, hi, Sherry. Okay, I have 5-year-old twin boys. When they are at daycare, I have one who is very disrespectful and disruptive at nap time. If his rule is to not have attitude at nap, you can't put attitude on there. At nap time, how can I implement consequences when I'm not there and it's not in the moment? It doesn't have to be in the moment with a 5-year-old. Use the behavior board and you can put down, follow the rules at daycare. Okay. You don't say that at home though. That's more in the attitude department, but you can put it at school. It's different. Parenting and daycare teacher, it's just different. So the rule could be follow the rules at daycare. That could be the rule on the board. And you can put it for both kids just in case. So, and then when they come home afterwards, then you have a consequence for not following the rules at daycare. Oh no, don't tell the daycare providers what to do. Yeah, you do the consequence at home. You never ask teachers or other people to parent your children. This is your job. They're 5 years old. They come home. It's your job to teach them how to be polite. It's not their job at all. They've got their own systems and procedures. If they ask what you do, they might offer, hey, look, we're willing to do what you do. Do you want to tell us? They might. But I would never expect anyone who's caring for my kids, I would never expect them to parent them like I do. I only teach parenting. Okay, you got an 11-year-old who's a little bit out of control. He's not doing homework at school. And you also said he's disrespectful. You got some work to do on yourself. Remember, it's never the kids, it's you. We're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. If he doesn't respect teachers and homework and all that, that's on you. Okay, you gotta work on yourself, your leadership skills. That's all I teach here. You might want to check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds. That can actually stretch into about 13, 14, but it can go up to all 12-year-olds. So yeah, you might want to check that out. If he's lying to you and everything, he just doesn't respect you. You got to earn that respect. So remember, it's never the kids, it's you. I've got respect with every kid and teenager I've ever worked with. And is it them or me? And I never worked with an easy kid. So they were all challenging. So yeah, it's always you. You lead, they will follow. So you got some work to do on yourself. And every parent does the best they know how or the best they can. No one purposely raises kids who are disrespectful. It's just that you just maybe didn't know how to raise kids who were, or set yourself up as a leader, right? But you always blame yourself, never the kids. If kids, like when I was working with kids, if I only saw them for an hour a week, if they acted out under my watch, I was a mentor with teenagers and kids, or just helping out in class, helper. If they acted out under my care, I always said, what am I missing? I never blamed them. A leader looks to themselves. What am I missing? You can only control yourself. So what am I missing? Why am I not bringing out the best in this kid? What's wrong with me? I got to fix me, right? They're just victims of us. They're just following our lead or lack of. Okay, so I'm kind of in a rush tonight. I got to move over to Instagram now. I'm on YouTube the whole time if you want to watch me there. Otherwise, you can follow me to Instagram. I'm on Facebook and YouTube right now, but I'm moving to Instagram. Anywho, if you want to check out my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board if you sign up for my newsletter. It's got a little toddler section on there too. The behavior board starts at 3. It's the training wheels with all this, and it's completely free. If you want to buy a course, there's 2 of them. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids, or you can look into coaching. I do have a big wait list. I will get to it eventually. That's working one-on-one with me. Or you can look into our podcast, BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and it's also filmed if you want to watch it on YouTube. We save it on there too. And my daughter and I do it together. She works with me. She does all my marketing, all my planning. She tells me what to do, and I usually do it. So thanks so much for joining, and I'm going over to Instagram. Happy parenting. Okay, there's only 8 buttons to go over. It's like 12 buttons to go to TikTok for some reason. Okay, it's from Ashley. I chose to quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom. I really miss my mom friends. They have kids similar ages, but my son screams and tantrums, and I try to get him out of the car and into their house. Oh, I can't answer that. I don't know the age. I need to know the age. And how does that equate to being a stay-at-home mom? I don't quite understand that. And then you said you miss your mom friends, but don't you have them if you're a stay-at-home mom? I don't understand that. Maybe you could explain that. Okay. Okay. Welcome to, I got 100 people right away. Instagram's like that. Everyone turns up in a clump. It's the only one that does that. Okay. Welcome to my live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, which also has a toddler section in it. It's when you join the newsletter. It's on my website. It's the very top. There's a black line, like a black, it's colored black, and you get access to that right at the very top of my website. I just checked that out the other day. My daughter does all that. So anyway, that's that. If you want to buy a course, the boot camp courses, there's 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids. If you want to work with me one-on-one, that would be coaching. And that, I've got a huge wait list for that right now, but I will get to it eventually if you want to get on the wait list. Also, what else? Oh yeah. Sorry, the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. She runs the show with all that stuff. She does all my marketing and planning, and it's on all the platforms. And we also film ourselves, and it's on YouTube if you want to watch us. And okay. I'm always surprised that some of my clients don't even know we have a podcast. I always think it's everywhere, but I guess once they hire me, they never go back to my website or check it out. So yeah, but anyway. Teen mom here with a senior who is really hard. I don't know what you mean. You're a teen mom and you got a senior. I don't know what you mean by that. That's Katie Denelfo. Okay, I need to know the ages. It helps a lot to answer the questions. Okay, 4-year-old keeps hitting when he doesn't get his way. Advice, consequences. Okay, so check out the behavior board, and his rule will be no hitting. And every time he hits is a consequence. There's always 2 consequences for the kids. The first one is a positive action. Don't get caught up in what it is. It doesn't matter. It's just the act of doing a good deed. So you made a mistake. You hit your parents. Now you're going to, I don't know, just empty the dishwasher or something, whatever. Pick whatever you want. It's all explained in the free behavior board. And then if he doesn't do that, though, within the allotted time, it's usually do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. Or if he doesn't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation, which is like 24-hour media blackout. Or if you don't use screens, then it could be just take his favorite toy away for a day. So you start out with him doing something, a good deed. If he won't do it, then you take something away. And don't get caught up in there is no magic consequence. It's the act of him doing a good deed. It doesn't really matter what it is. A lot of parents get caught up like, what's the perfect consequence? There isn't one. It's just the consistency, though. If you're not consistent, none of this works. You got to be you got to commit to it and be 100% consistent. That's why we start small with just one behavior or one battle per week. That behavior board, the whole course, the behavior board course is free, and it goes through 3 weeks. You're going to get 3 behavior boards. All I'm doing with those is teaching you how to do this. That's all it is. It's a teaching tool for you. How to be calm, how to be consistent, how to play with them, how to connect with them. That's 99% of parenting is connecting. It's not discipline, it's connecting with them. Play. Their love language is play and fun. And you have to do a lot of that. So what else is I going to say about that? Can't remember. Did you hear that? The little what's it called? Little moped out there beeped as soon as I stopped. Like it was period. Okay. Okay, so Sammy, you've got really disrespectful 9 and 7-year-olds. Remember, that's all on you. It's not them. We're not fixing kids here. They're just reacting to you. So you got to set yourself up as a leader. That's the behavior board. It teaches you how to get started with all this. If you've got kids that age, I kind of recommend the boot camp course because it's really, it's got a lot more in it, right? You can start with the free behavior board, but if you think you're going to get the boot camp course, don't even start the behavior board without the course because there's just so much more information in there. But yeah, you might want to do that because if they're 9 and 7 and the 9-year-old's now a tween or a preteen, so it's just going to get harder and harder to get respect. So the behavior board might be all you need, though. Some parents are doing really well with just the free behavior board. At family gatherings, my family is loud and he tantrums and runs away. I have no idea how to help him, 3 years old. Well, I grew up in an extremely loud family. Very funny, very loud. I loved it. So yeah, if he runs away, you're not going to stop your family from being loud if it's all fun. And but yeah, he'll eventually get used to it, I'm assuming. Or does he do it for attention? Do you go chase him down and read him a book or something? You see, I don't know. You could just potentially buy him earmuffs. Say if they're really loud, you can put earmuffs on them. And but yeah, sometimes they'll do that just to get you away from your family too. So that could be why he's doing it. I don't know. Someone said, how long is the toddler fussy eating phase? Toddler is 2. I don't know. And I don't really talk about nutrition because I'm not qualified to do so. But a lot of toddlers are very fussy and they end up being fussy kids and adults too. Doesn't always work out that way. But yeah, I can't answer that because I don't know. Some kids are very fussy too. And not all toddlers are fussy. I look after my granddaughter one day a week. She's 20 months old and I was feeding her. Her mom does these fabulous little meals for her, and so I don't have to cook. So, but some of her applesauce went into her corn, and you should have seen her picking out the applesauce. They usually don't like food to touch, right? It's one thing most toddlers are like that, and a lot of kids are. They like to keep everything separate. But the way she was picking out these little bits of applesauce, I was just watching. It was cute. Oh, behavior board consequences when in public, you say, we'll talk about it when we get home. And then when you get home, you go to the behavior board and you follow through. So you address the bad behavior when you're out. You say, okay, you hit, we'll address that when we get home. And then when you get home, then you do it. It's delayed. That's okay. Can't do that with a toddler. It's got to be right in the moment. 3 and above, you can do it delayed. That's when the behavior board starts. When they're 3 and above, they have the ability to stop and think before they act. Toddlers don't. A toddler to me is 15 to 35 months. Yeah, they don't have that control. Is your opinion what causes teenagers? Oh, hey, in your opinion, what causes teenagers to rebel? The authority style parent and the pleaser style parent, both of them. One parent is, because you're so controlling as the authority, they're going to rebel because they need to. They're going to grow up and they need to make their own decisions when they're adults. And then the pleaser style, they just don't have any respect for you. So they're like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do because I don't respect you anyway. So yeah, it's the lack of leadership, I think. And leadership to me is more like a mentorship. Like it's like, have you ever had like a coach or a teacher or a grandparent that you kind of look up to, makes you feel good about yourself? That's what I teach. I want your kids to feel good about themselves. When I was working with kids, my goal was always that they like themselves when they were with me. When they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad. I worked with a teenager once, and they told me later on, said, I didn't like myself until I met you, Lisa. And I thought, yes, that's what I do. I want them to like themselves when they're with me. That gives me a lot of power, believe it or not. You got to be very careful with that too. Like if you make someone feel good, you have a lot of power over them. Because if you look disappointed, I never look disappointed, angry, or frustrated. If you do, they feel like crap because they look up to you. Your opinion means a lot to them, right? So they don't want to mess that up. And that's why you never show disappointment, anger, or frustration. If they do something bad, you just say, oh, well, that was a bad choice. Here's your consequence. Potty training 2-year-old for over 6 months. Forgetful. Okay, I do have a potty training course. It's in both of my boot camp courses if you want to check that out. It's a whole system on how you do it. So I would give it a break for a month or so or a few weeks and just to sort of, and then regroup and start with the potty training method. You might want to check that out. If it's not working, just abandon ship and try something else, which is what I'm suggesting. How to handle aggressive outbursts in almost 3-year-old, making fists and making grr sounds, very angry over small things. If that's all they're doing, who cares? They're not hitting, who cares? Oh, okay, have at it. Yeah, I wouldn't address that. They're doing that to get a rise out of you, and if it bothers you, they're going to keep doing it. Whereas if a kid did that to me, I'd just go, oh, okay, and then get on with my day. Wouldn't bother me at all. I wouldn't feed it. And attention is feeding it. Yeah, I don't have any potty training tips because it is a whole system, right? I can't give you one tip. It's like dieting tips. Eat lettuce. Well, what else do I do? You know, it's a whole system. So yeah, I do have a whole, if you want to buy the course for it, that's fine. If not, I don't have any tips just because it doesn't work with them. I can't give you a couple tips and it would work. It just doesn't work that way. I trained my son. I trained both my kids at 2.5. It's a really good age to train them. My son was trained in 1 day. My daughter was trained in 2 days. And she only had an accident the next day. And it was kind of my fault. I wasn't on top of it. But yeah, and no night diapers, no pull-ups, nothing. But I was already a leader. It was easier for me because I was already a leader. They already kind of respected me, even though they were little. So it made it easier. They were kind of on board with whatever I said. Okay, because when you're a leader, you make them feel good. They want to please you when they're little, so. But then when they're teenagers, teenagers are my favorite age. You want to pass that leadership torch over to them. You're still there for the big stuff, but you want to start letting go of a lot of stuff and let them take charge of their own lives more. That's really important with teenagers. A lot of parents complain about their teenagers, but it's because you haven't adjusted to the teenage parenting method, right? You gotta let go of stuff. I'm gonna read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they'll shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, you negotiate as much as possible with teenagers. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Reciprocity, right? Give respect to get it. And you do that with young ones too, but even more so with teenagers. Number 3, don't sweat the small stuff. If a teenager does something stupid and it's not a big deal, just laugh it off. Say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? So yeah, you got to allow them to make mistakes, just like you did, just like you do. Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. I'll often teach parents how to connect with their teenager, and then they'll want to discuss all the ways they've disappointed them in the last 2 years. Even though I tell them not to do it, they still sometimes just can't help themselves. So then they'll say, well, when do we discuss the bad times? And I say, never. What's the point? So in other words, when do you rub salt in the wound? Never. It's not a good thing to do. They already understand it all. Number 5, you can be a right fighter with teenagers, or you can be happy. They'll die on any hill. They'll fight, even though they know they're wrong, they'll fight. If you don't have a good leadership relationship and they don't respect you, they'll fight. They'll die on every hill. So yeah, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy with a teenager. If you're arguing and you know you're right, just say, oh, I'll tell you what, let's just talk about it later. Take the high road, walk away. one of my clients asked me the other day, they said, you're always saying that teenagers are your favorite age. Why? And I said, well, that's when you learn the most. I learn the most about myself because their brains are really powerful. They're all done. Like their brains are they're way better than mine is, that's for sure. And they've got this really powerful, smart head on their shoulders. It doesn't mean they make good decisions all the time, but they're just clever. They see the world fresh. And I love that about teenagers. Here, they got this powerful brain. They're enthusiastic usually about their opinions. And then I want to know what they're thinking. Like they'll say something to me and I don't agree with it, in my old way. And I'll say, well, tell me why you believe that. And often I'll change my mind because if you're not learning from your kids and teenagers, you're missing out big time. Open your mind, listen to them. They might have better ideas than you do. Oh, sorry, I've got to skip. Oops. I got to skip through dozens of questions just to make sure you're still here when I answer. Do I ignore tantrums completely at 20 months, even if they work themselves up so much? Yeah, I do, but you want to be nearby. You want to look like you're just waiting for a bus, and you want them to understand that you're waiting for the tantrum to finish. My son does something interesting. He told me the other day with his daughter's 20 months old. And if she's having a tantrum, she doesn't have big ones yet. She might later on, I don't know. But anyway, he just says, I'm waiting, or I'll wait. And then she just sort of, oh, okay. And then she just stops having it. So, but yeah, he just says, I'll wait. So I don't teach that because I've never done it. And it might not work with all kids. She's very analytical. She likes to figure everything out, and it might not work with every kid. She doesn't get herself so wound up she can't get out of it. Yeah, she may go down that path. I don't know. But yeah, so in other words, it's important that they know you're waiting. And just by standing there, you might look down every so often, but don't get eye contact. Look like you're waiting, just waiting for the tantrum to finish. And then as soon as it does, then you say, oh, you all done? You want to go read a book? If they start up again, ignore them again. In other words, never feed the tantrum. Any attention is fertilizing it. So don't do that. But you're right there. And also don't get into a conversation with someone. Don't look at your phone. I think that's rude. They're still going through something. It's not big emotions and feelings like you think it is. It's just anger at not getting their own way. So that's why I ignore that. They just got to learn that they can't always get their own way. And there is how they learn how to not get their own way and be okay with that. 5-year-old is suddenly in a defiant no phase about everything. It doesn't usually come on at 5. Something's happened, or else he's just clued into the fact that you're giving in too much. Yeah, it doesn't usually start at 5. So I don't know what's happened. No idea. I'd have to investigate that. And that would be coaching. So probably not worth paying me all that money just to figure that one out. And I've got a big wait list anyway. So not very good at sales, am I? Well, that's fine. I'm here to make a difference, not to be filthy rich. Okay, I'm just reading through your questions. Oh, what do we do if your 15-month-old is throwing toys for fun? You redirect. So you put the toy away when they throw it, you say no, and then you redirect. At about 16 months, that changes. I just take the toy away and I don't redirect. But it's a gray area. Do you do that at 15 months, 18 months? I don't know. Around there. Shouldn't we want, oh, I'm so glad you asked this, Hannah. Shouldn't we want our kids to feel bad when they upset someone else? Absolutely not. You never want them to feel bad about themselves, ever. They can be mad. They can learn a lesson. They can have remorse, but you never want them to feel bad about themselves. You want them to go, gee, I messed up. Everybody messes up. I messed up. I'm going to make it up. Okay. So no, you don't want them to feel bad or sad or anything. It's okay if they're mad when you hand out a consequence. That's different. But you want them to go, yeah, geez, I messed up. Yeah, I'm going to fix that. That's what you want. You do not want them to feel bad. That's the opposite of what you want, actually. Remember I said, if they feel good, they do good. If they feel bad, they do bad. If you make them feel bad, they're going to be bad, because it becomes their identity. I want them to feel good. Like I've worked with hundreds of kids, teenagers who've done some awful things, and I don't want them to feel bad. I I would just say, look, you messed up. What are you going to do to fix it? What are you going to do? Okay, let's figure this out together. What are you going to do? So yeah, let's fix it. Oh, sorry, Lisa. Never mind. What are we going to do to fix it? Okay. Be proactive, be problem solvers. So rather than shame and blame, that's what you kind of want to do when you want to make them feel bad. It's shaming and blaming. I don't do that at all. At all. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. But I do want them to feel accountable for their actions and what they say and what they do. There's a difference between that. You can still feel like a good person and mess up sometimes. Yeah, whenever a parent says to a toddler, you really hurt mommy and daddy, you hurt our feelings, that's the shaming and blaming. I won't go on about that too much, but I would never do that. You're not going to get the results you want. And I'm after results here. So it's just not the way I would go about it. Okay, I got to move on to TikTok now, and I'm on YouTube the whole time whenever I'm doing a live. If you want to check out my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses. I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. I do have a big wait list that I will get to eventually if you want to get on the intake form. And the podcast, I always forget that, the podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. She does all the marketing, all the planning. She organizes all the podcasts, and we're having a blast doing it. It's the only time we work together. We both work in the company, but it's the only time we ever work together is during the podcast, because we have completely separate, we're both our own bosses, right? I don't know what she does. She knows what I do, but I don't really know what she does, but she handles all that stuff. But yeah, that's why we love doing the podcast so much. It's the only time we ever work together. And anyway, thanks so much for joining. I'm hopping over to TikTok. Happy parenting. It was only 10 buttons. Why was that? It was 12 buttons last time. My thumb gets sore on the phone all the time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to answer that in a second, Sarah. I just want to wait. I just have to take a bit of a break whenever I go to TikTok, because it's my third platform that my voice starts to go a bit. Plus, I went to a mall today. I don't know if anyone knows Vancouver. I went to Metrotown today. I don't know why. Every so often I'll go into a mall. I hate shopping so much. I get like mall flu, I call it. I literally think I'm coming down with something. I get dizzy. I start feel like I'm getting a fever. My stomach gets upset. So I have to recover from that. Every time I go into a mall, I get sick. Mall flu. That's how much I hate shopping. I know it's mind over matter, but whew. So that's why I'm feeling a little bit tired. Okay, I thought I'd come on here and relax a bit before I get on with my night. Okay, how are you? I was just explaining how I got mall flu. I don't know. I talked to other people. I've heard of other people say they get mall flu too. You should look it up. It's a psychological issue. Or maybe they pump in something in the air in those shopping centers. I was thinking malls are built to allow people to waste money. I see so much spending and so much overbuying in there. I'm not a shopper, so yeah, they do very well, but not by me, I'll tell you. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Welcome to my live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching one-on-one with me. That is full up I've got a big wait list right now, but I will get to it eventually if you're interested in that. What else? Oh yeah, the podcast. I always forget to mention that. It doesn't fly like the rest of them do. Anyway, the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms. We also save it on YouTube because we film it. It's my daughter and I. We work together. She does all that. She organizes all the podcasts. I never know what we're going to talk about ever. It's fun. We often laugh because she'll say, "No, today's podcast is about," and I'll say, "Oh, I got nothing to say," and then I end up yammering on forever. So. The difference is here, the only 2 places I ever answer questions aside from coaching is on here, lives. I never see comments or direct messages. My daughter looks at that. And then on the podcast, I'll answer questions. But it's the only 2 places I answer questions. But the podcast, I go into more detail. So it's just a little bit more detailed than it is on here. Okay, so I said I was going to answer Sarah's question. Okay, this is on YouTube. Sarah said, both my child and my friend's child cried for an hour at home and then eventually fell asleep from exhaustion. What I'm wondering is, when their needs aren't met, hungry and sleepy, but they refuse to eat, is it still right to ignore it? That's a tricky one because I don't know how old they are. Just a sec. They were so tired but kept insisting to go out, both of them. Oh, I don't know the ages. Okay. No, I wouldn't force them to go to sleep if they hadn't eaten. I would keep them up and try and feed them something that maybe not even be that healthy, but I'd try and get some food into them, just some toast or something. I can't talk about nutrition. I don't know. It doesn't, like, I wouldn't try and get like a full course meal, and you know what I mean? I would want to get some food into them. So I can't discuss nutrition, but I don't know, maybe just yogurt or something. I don't know. But I would try and get some food into them for sure. Yep, I would. It's kind of a gray area because I always say you meet their needs and manage their wants. Discipline is usually about the wants, but they're tired and they're still hungry. I'd try and calm them down and get some food into them. They don't need tons. So they're 2. Yeah, but you can, okay. I can't talk about nutrition. I can't talk about food, but there must be something you could get into them. You know what I'm saying? How do I get my 3-year-old to stop saying no? You don't. Ever. They can say and do whatever they want. You just make sure that if they do something naughty, then there's a consequence. Saying no is not naughty. That's the attitude. That means they don't respect you. You haven't set yourself up as a leader. It's just a tell. It means they don't respect you. If you've got a 3-year-old saying no to everything, that's on you. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. So they're saying no because you're not a leader. They don't look up to you. They don't respect you yet. You got to work on that. And you can't criticize them for saying no because you haven't earned the respect. See what I'm saying? That's on you. So set yourself up as a leader. And if they're saying no and they have to do something, then you can put it on a behavior board. Like if you have to get them to bed and they say no, you've got to get them to bed. But if they just say no, it doesn't matter. They might say no and then still do it. A lot of kids do that. They'll say no and then still do what they need to say or what they need to do. I give my 3-year-old 1 to 2 options and let him pick. My husband said that's giving him too much control. Now, you don't give your kids choices if it becomes a problem, like with getting dressed. If they're okay with it and they don't fight, like a lot of kids will say, I want that outfit. You put it on them, then they say, no, I want that. That's when they're controlling you and manipulating you. Okay. So if they're like that, if that happens, I'd say, I'm just going to choose the outfit. And I also let them choose with the fun. When you're playing and connecting with kids, let them be in charge of the fun. Doesn't mean you're changing games. Now I want to do this. Now I want to do that. But let them choose what you play. And then you don't have to flip around to different games or whatever. But let them choose. You let them choose the fun stuff. But the important stuff, I wouldn't give them choices. I don't give kids choices on what to eat. I know what they like and I cook around it, right? So I don't give them choices, because the more choices you give them with the necessary stuff, the more opportunity you're giving them to try and control you. Yeah, you can give them some choices, but hold back on that. It's not important for them to have choices. You know, I know a lot of people teach that, but not with the important stuff. But when I'm playing with kids, they're sort of in charge of the play. But I'm in charge of the meals. I'm in charge of when we leave the house. I'm in charge of when they go to bed. I don't give them choices with the stuff that needs to be done. You see? Someone said on YouTube, what's your opinion on sleep training? Well, I don't know. There's so many different sleep training. I can't comment on that. And I don't, well, a sleep training, maybe you mean with a baby when you just let them cry it out. That, you know, there's all sorts of different sleep training methods. That's like saying, what's your opinion on parenting? I mean, it's just such a broad term, sleep training. But let's say you're talking about a baby and you let them cry it out. What I did with my kids is I think I sleep trained both of them at 9 or 10 months. And they were getting up in the middle of the night. They didn't need to feed or anything. You know, they were just getting up because they were used to doing it. So, and they'd end up just playing. And so anyway, what I did was I did let them cry it out. I did it for 1 minute, and then I sat outside their bedroom door crying. I cried while they cried. Then I'd go in after a minute, and then I made it 2 minutes. I'd go in. Then 3 minutes I'd go in, and then by fourth minute they were asleep. So that's one way of doing it. I've got other methods too, but that's what I did. Bedtime battles is different. That's in my courses, and I've got lots of videos on that too. That's something I can give a few tips on. No, I can't do that with potty training, but bedtime battles, I have got a lot of videos on that. So tired eyes. Someone said, why does my 2-year-old scream when waking up? Every day, she always has. Some kids just do. My son used to cry waking up sometimes. He didn't do it most of the time, but every so often he would. They just wake up on the other side of the bed like some adults do. Don't analyze it. I would just sit with him and read a book, or just sit with him, calmly, and he would calm down. I heard, I don't know why they do that. But I heard that it has something to do with temperature. If their body temperature or something, I don't know, but everyone's different. I wake up, I'm one of those people, I'm really annoying. I bounce out of bed at 5 a.m. Cheery as anything, but at night I'm lousy. I'm like in a coma by 9. So I've always been a morning person. And maybe your child is more of a night person. Oh, you're asking about potty training. I have a whole system on potty training, and it's only in my courses. It's such a system that I don't have tips on it. Like, you know what I mean? Start to finish, this is how you potty train. So if you're interested in that, you'd have to buy one of my courses. It's in both the courses. If you don't show emotions to child when they are bad, how do they learn to deal with other people's emotions? It happens organically. You don't need to teach them how to deal with it. It just happens organically. Yeah, I don't quite know what you mean. You'd have to give me an absolute specific situation. Like I don't believe in showing anger with kids. If they do something bad, I just say, "Oh, that was an interesting choice. Here's your consequence." That's how I deal with it. It's like a business transaction. Because my goal is that they always feel good about themselves. If I show anger, it drags them down. So, yeah. And I also encourage kids to, when they get older, to talk it out. If they're frustrated with something, you can talk to me. But yeah, if you're screaming, I ain't listening. So, but yeah, they can talk it out, talk out problems. That's what happens is they learn to talk things through rather than just get angry. If you're a really good leader, they'll tell you stuff. They'll tell you everything right through the teen years. Because you're a really good listener, right? And you don't listen to judge. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. You just listen to show empathy and understanding. And I remember my mom, if I came to her with a problem, I was really little, and I can remember this. I'd say, "Mommy, what should I do? So-and-so did this to me at school," or whatever. And she always answered the exact same way all through my life. She'd say, "Well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out." She was always encouraging me to solve my own problems. She was empowering me. And we would talk about it. She'd give me some hints, but she never told me what to do, ever. We just talked it out. And that's what I did with my kids. We talked it through. I'd say, "Well, I don't know. Let's figure, what do you think?" And we'd talk about it. I only have 2 kids. They're 35, my son, and my daughter's 30. My daughter works with me, and my son doesn't. He's got his own job, and I've got a grandchild. And there's 5 years between them because I didn't want 5 years between them. I wanted 2, but I did have a miscarriage, and I also had back surgery between the 2 kids. So I was told not to have another child because of the back, but I did anyway. And then I developed heart condition with my daughter and had to have surgery after hers. So anyway, obviously not meant to have. My body just didn't deal with kids very well. Anyway, but if I had it to do over again, I would put the 5 years between my 2 kids. It's short enough that they still relate as siblings. But I had 5 years just alone with my son, and it was real connection and bonding. It was fantastic. And then he goes off to grade 1. Then I got another kid to repeat it with. So it was like I got all this time with each kid. I loved it. I would do it all over again the same way if I had to choose. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. I just enjoyed that because I love mothering and I wanted to stretch it out. Because I did want 4 kids initially, but because of my body and that, it just didn't work out. And but anyway, I wanted to stretch it out because if you have them too close together, you're chaotic, especially in the toddler years, because that's a lot of work when they're really little. And then you miss out on a lot because you're so busy dealing with all the physical stuff. And then it ends so quickly too. At least I had 5 years between them growing up too. So I lost one as become an adult, and then I got some years to wallow in the next one. So it dragged out parenting, which is what I wanted. It was the most fun I ever had was raising kids. I loved it. I loved parenting. I just loved it. And even with my granddaughter now, I only have her 1 day a week. And my daughter once said, she goes, "You are so in your element when you're with her." And I really am. And one of the ladies at the play thing that I go to too with her, and they said, "Geez, you just love kids, don't?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm in my element when I'm with kids. I love it." And yet I would never want to teach or anything. I only like connecting, that bonding, the mothering kind of stuff and grandmothering. It's that maternal stuff is what I enjoy. I would never want to teach or anything. That's different. I so admire teachers. It's just not something I could ever have done. Oh, advice for teachers. Yeah, I've never been a teacher. I wouldn't know. And each city, each state, country, whatever is different with their laws. So I don't know what schools allow. They all have different things. I know that I feel so sorry for schools. Years ago, I used to have a column in the newspaper, and I wrote this article, and the title was, it was usually a Q&A, but I didn't even do it this week. What had happened was there was, I can't remember what it was, but anyway, I can't remember what sparked this, but I wrote down this article, and it was called "Stop Expecting Schools to Parent. It's your job to send nice kids to school." I took that very seriously. I sent nice kids to school. It's not their job to parent them. That's my job. So, and I feel so sorry for teachers now. They're expected to teach kids social skills, behavior, not just academics, but a lot of what the teachers have to do now is deal with behavior. They didn't used to have to do that. They would just there's usually just one kid acting out in the classroom, and they'd send them down to the principal's office, and the principal would call the parents, and the parents would come pick them up or whatever. They were dealt with like really fast. You can't do that these days. The parents expect the schools to handle bad behavior, which I think is ridiculous, but whatever. Yeah. I'll tell you what, if parents had to go pick up their kids when they were misbehaving, they'd parent very differently. See what I mean? Like it's too bad that the teachers just do so much put on teachers these days. That's why they're quitting right, left, and center. They just can't take it anymore. And I used to sit in the back of classrooms, and I was just working with the behaviorally challenged kids, trying to take some of the weight off teachers. I did that for years. And every so often a teacher would do something that they shouldn't do, like maybe yell or throw something, in anger. And what I would do was the teacher would forget I was there when they do that. Then they'd instantly look at me, and I'd go like this, and I'd look away like I saw nothing. I felt so sorry for those teachers. I saw nothing. And yeah, no judgment here, I'll tell you. And that I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd be capable of doing if I had 30 kids that were out of control. So I have so much respect for teachers. Okay. When your kids were in preschool and they hit, would you deal with it at home on the behavior board? Well, they have to be 3 to be on the behavior board. So yeah, what you do is if you have kids who hit at preschool, then they come home and then you deal with it. And you say, okay, so you hit at preschool. The teacher told me. Don't say you shouldn't do that. They already know. Don't lecture them. Don't shame and blame them. They already know. You hit at preschool. Let's go to the behavior board. Okay. The rule is no hitting, and you hit. So the consequence is this. Don't judge it. Don't lecture. Don't shame. Don't blame. Don't bully. Just follow through with the consequence. I hear there may be a teenage boot camp coming on this. Yeah, I am planning on doing a boot camp course for teenagers. We've just to round it all out. We've just been so freaking busy. Um, the teenage one, I never wanted to do a course on teenagers because I specialize in teen crisis work. And I thought, well, I can't do a course on crisis, right? And I mean, a lot of life and death stuff with teenagers. They're very, they do silly things sometimes, right? So I thought, well, I can't. And then I realized most parents of teenagers aren't dealing with crisis. So I only get the parents of teenagers who are not always in crisis for sure, but that are dealing with problems. So I could easily do a course on that. So anyway, that's what decided us. I just decided that a couple months ago. I thought I should be doing a course on teenagers. So we're trying to get our time sorted out to get that done. We've got a lot on our plate right now, my daughter and I, and she's in charge of all the planning. So she's very aware that I want to do that. So she'll just tell me when we're doing it. Because I just follow her. I do what she says. So she's very organized. I would love to do a course. The teenagers are my favorite age. I would love to do a course on teenagers. And I don't know how many people would buy it, but it's important to have it there because a lot of parents of teenagers, they kind of think, well, there's not much I can do anyway. They often do that. It's just sort of, yeah. So I don't know if they'd be searching out answers, but I still want to have it there for anyone who wants it. What makes a teen in crisis? I won't go into it, but it's often very risky behavior, put it that way. You can imagine. Well, if you can't, you're lucky. So yeah, I love doing that work, but it's and I can see why other people don't want to do it. Well, I have a lot of experience with teenagers, and I just understand them. And there's a lot of pressure on me. Self-inflicted, because there's no guarantees with any of this coaching or anything. We're all human, right? We're all gonna make mistakes. But yeah, it's still fixable though. It's still doable. Like a lot of parents don't think it is. They think it's too late. They're 16, 17. Honestly, it's never too late. It's harder for sure to get respect and get things sorted out and organized. It is harder for sure, but it's still doable. Okay. Oh, doula. Oh, okay. Well, I'll talk to my daughter again. I know she's got it on her plate, and we've just got a lot going on right now. And anyway, I have to go. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses, coaching, and you can look into our coaching. I have a big wait list for coaching, but you can still go on it if you want. I will get to it eventually. And you can look into the podcast. My daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. That's where we go into more detail with all this stuff. These lives, I used to do them every single day, and I just haven't had time anymore. But the lives are very quick answers. But on the podcast, she really drills me on stuff too, because it just makes it more interesting. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll be back again soon. Happy parenting.